In high school, I was in choir. I loved it. And then into college, I started a band, tried to get a real job, and did for a little while, but nothing could keep me away from the music. Had a front of house sound guy, and we're traveling in the van, and I mentioned, I might be interested in building a studio. And he had just said, you should check out Russ Berger. If you're gonna shoot for the stars, that's the guy. So I wrote the name down, I sent an email.
Matt wanted to have a room that he could rehearse in. He wanted a room that he could write in, and also individual work that he's working on in writing and recording.
With Matt, he has a band. It's very important for them that they want to play and work together in a very open, seamless environment.
When we approach a project like this, you don't come at it just like, open up a can of studio. It wants to fit the way people live and the way they work. And instead of forcing them into a fixed mold, we came up with a hybrid. The studio wanted to be separate so we could have the band over and have people in. So that means it had to be self-supporting. It had to have a bathroom, a control room, place for storage, but a place where it's private from the house.
So first and foremost, we wanted a comfortable place where we could all get together, set up, record, get work done.
I can't make you love me, but I try. I pray for the stars to align. You've always been my body, but I've never been your Clyde. I guess it's moving on time. I can't run from this heartache for one. Fruit won't grow without water.
This is a very open space. When you need the large volume of the studio space, you have it. But the point is, it's flexible. We're not locked by the traditional old school recording studio format of there's a booth here and a booth here and then another booth here.
So there's a giant 12-foot wide, 7-foot high cased opening. So the control room and the studio are just one room. But yet you can shut it down with the glass doors. You want to go in there and during a session, just walk up, open the door, you're immediately in the studio. It's real fast, quick way to work.
Another thing that was really important to me was, and since this was at my house, we want to be able to be in here working whenever inspiration strikes and not have to worry about making too much noise or disturbing anybody.
You're concerned that, you get a starship captain in here cranking the volume up. You need a certain amount of isolation.
Something that's great about this space is the versatility. We have a lot of different projects coming through here. We're a 5-piece band. We've got drums and keys in one room, guitars and vocals, bass in another room. We're able to all play at the same time. We'll have other projects in here. We have people also coming in here that just want to mix stuff. And this room's fantastic for mixing. Close the doors off, make it dark in here if you really want to get inspired, and go to work.
I've always had a plan of who I'm supposed to be. Well, that man in the plan, it sure ain't me. I lied to my friends so they think I'm doing well. Do they see the pain in my eyes? I just can't tell.
I thought building a studio would be a little bit like buying a car. It ended up being so much more personal than I ever thought it would be, because in the end I got everything I asked for, everything I needed, and it wasn't a cookie cutter layout.
The console behind me is a Rupert Neve 5088. Anybody recording these days definitely knows Rupert Neve, and this console is equipped with their Shelford modules, which just sound killer. It's got that 1073 magic right there in the mid-range, which is really cool. Everything's recorded into Pro Tools HD via the 32-channel antelope converters. The monitors in this room are a combination of Danley Sound Labs, made in America, and ATC, which are made in the UK. And the cue system in this space, which is all wired via Cat5 cable, is the Hearback Pro. So everyone has individual control over drums, bass, keys, vocals, guitars, however you route it.
Rooms typically have one sound to them. You can apply absorption, diffusion, reflection in a room, and that changes some of the character. One way of changing that, outside of building a much bigger space, is electronic architecture.
There is a series of microphones in the ceiling, which feed a rack of DSP in the equipment room, which then feeds a system of speakers in the space.
And we've applied that in here for Matt so that he can change the reverb time, the decay, and ambient in there from a nice sounding room that normally works for most of what he's doing to be able to get 1 3/4, 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds.
You can make it sound like a church. You can make it sound like a larger recording studio.
Pretty much whatever kind of ambient character he wants, decay character, he can get out of there through this system.
Building a studio obviously isn't cheap, and takes a lot of time, takes a lot of money. We were fortunate that we were building from the ground up and building our house simultaneously. And one thing we wanted to do was make sure the studio felt like just another room in the house.
You can walk from here into Matt's house and it all references. You don't feel like you're going from one really strange space to another, although acoustically this is unique from the house.
You walk in here and obviously it's a music studio, but it feels like just an extension of the rest of the house.
The philosophy here is to build great rooms that are functional and they're warm and timeless.
Lately, I've been working on my solo stuff. We were able to go over to Abbey Road and record 30-piece orchestra and then seamlessly come right back over here and do my vocals. It's such a luxury and such a blessing that those two studios, an ocean away from each other, feel like it's a seamless integration.
She put him out like the burning end of a midnight cigarette. She broke his heart.
Studio design is unique and it can be expensive. This requires architecture, interiors, electrical, HV and mechanical. But you got to build a box to put all that in, and it has to sound good. It has to reference. One of the things we achieved with Matt in his studio is we listened to his needs and we executed accordingly. So by working with him, figuring out what the vision is, talking about the pros and cons, we were able to work together to get to the end goal. We couldn't do it without him, and he couldn't have done it without us.
I've always had a plan of who I'm supposed to be. Well, that man in the planet might be